approximately 45 degrees. I'm going to overlap the second stage, and I'm still able to mold it firmly over the condyles. Now when I'm going over the patella, the pressure has to be decreased, and decreased significantly. The material goes up to the superior pole of the patella. Don't go beyond it. Since the material sets pretty quickly, I have to get moving also pretty fast. Here's the patella, here's the patella tendon. I'm going to apply pressure, but not a lot of pressure. The quadriceps is relaxed. The leg is resting on my lap, so it makes it easy for me to do so. If the quadriceps is contracted for some reason, then it becomes impossible to mold the patella tendon area. I will explain in a minute as to why the patella tendon is molded, even though it is not a contributor to the concentration of weight-bearing stresses. As I gently pressure on the patella tendon, I'm applying firm pressure over the condyles of the femur. I need that in order to provide lateral stability, particularly for fractures of the proximal third, which is needed particularly for fractures of the proximal third of the tibia. I'll go back and forth between the popliteal space, the medial condyle of the tibia, the patella tendon, and the condyles of the femur. Repeat. I go back and forth between pressure on the medial side, posteriorly, over the patella tendon and the condyles of the femur. And once again, the material which is going to be trimmed down in a bit should not go above the superior pole of the patella. Because if it goes too high, then the patient will not be able to extend the knee without the anterior portion of the plastic digging into the quadriceps. Should we put the second one? Yeah. Let me use another roll, because for the sake of consistency, I'm going to apply 2 rolls for each segment. Later on, it depends on the patient's size, the activities, anticipated activities, etc. We can add more material. Go back once again to overlap. Notice the indentation on the patella is not too deep, it's not too shallow either. And I go high, and I go high. Molding the condyles of the femur, molding the patella, molding the medial condyle, and compressing the subpopliteal area. The cast is going to be trimmed down as to permit full flexion of the knee as well as full extension of the joint. I want to go high at this level. I'm going to go a straight line across. I want to go as posteriorly as I can without impinging on the hamstrings. So at this point, I begin to turn down. Here's the patella tendon. Here's the tibial tubercle. So opposite of the tibial tubercle, I'm going to turn posteriorly, straight across. I do likewise on the lateral side. Go as posteriorly as far as you can, once again without interfering with the hamstrings. And then go back down, and opposite to the tubercle. Not opposite to the patellar indentation, but opposite to the tibial tubercle. Then you go around. So those wings against the bone are going to provide the lateral instability that takes place, that's necessary during the stand phase of gait. At heel strike, at mid stance, the knee is almost fully extended. When it is flexed, you will find out that there's space between the condyles and the plaster. But it doesn't matter, because at that particular, all that happens when you're sitting down or doing mid stance. Doing the swing phase of gait. At that time, there are no stresses trying to create a deformity. The forces trying to create the deformity occur during the extension of the knee joint. The trimming has been carried out, and I will demonstrate as to how the patient should be able to fully extend the knee and flex it. Here's the knee in full extension. And I'm going to flex it fully. Because of the trimming was done at the appropriate level, there will be no impingement against the quadriceps or against the hamstrings. I need to make a couple comments which are important. The functional treatment of fractures of the tibia has limitations, like any other treatment. It is not the treatment that is to be used for every fracture of the tibia. A number of prerequisites have to be met. The best fractures are those that were produced from low energy, where the initial shortening is acceptable. This cast, no matter how firmly the tissues are compressed, does not immobilize the fracture. There's no cast or appliance, similar appliances that immobilize the fracture. Fortunately, because a little bit of motion of the fracture site that takes place when doing ambulation and function is beneficial to fracture healing. That motion favors healing of the fracture, contrary to traditional views. This so-called PTB cast does not prevent shortening, contrary to our original expectations. The shortening takes place, the final shortening in closed fractures of the tibia takes place at the time of the initial insult, and it does not change. This is not widely recognized, but it has been well documented in the literature. The initial shortening does not increase, period. All the cast does is to assist in the prevention of angular deformities through a hydraulic-like mechanism. So here is the cast that will allow the patient to bear weight on the extremity as symptoms dictate. No one should ever be told to bear full weight on their leg if weight bearing is painful. This gentleman who sustained this fracture 10 days ago, is going to continue to walk with the aid of crutches. He's going to put weight on the extremity according to symptoms. It is very likely that at this point, he'll be able to bear significant amount of weight, which will increase as the symptoms and the signs of begin to decrease. Eventually, he should be able to walk without external support.